Albert Camus' The Stranger from 1942 tells the story of Meursault, a French-Algerian man who seems detached from conventional human feelings and values. He passively navigates life, unable or perhaps unwilling to express emotions or make meaningful choices. But by the end of the novel, after a murder, a trial, and the approach of his own execution, Meursault undergoes a quiet but profound transformation. So the novel can be read as the story of a man with no identity who, through confrontation with death and the absurd, crafts a personal identity grounded in honesty, awareness, and acceptance of life's inherent meaninglessness. In the first half of the novel, Meursault's character is defined by sort of like emotional indifference and passive detachment. And the story begins with his mother's death. Open quote. My mum died today, or yesterday maybe, I don't know. Close quote. Rather than mourning, he seems more focused on the physical experience, the heat, the light, the inconvenience of the funeral. His refusal, or perhaps inability, to express grief baffles those around him, and it signals that Meursault does not conform to social expectations. He is a stranger, not just to others, but to traditional roles like the grieving son. And this detachment continues in his personal relationships. When Marie, a woman he is seeing, asks if he loves her, he replies, open quote, it didn't mean anything, but I probably didn't love her. Close quote. And when she asks if he wants to marry her, he says, open quote, I said it didn't make any difference to me, and that we could if she wanted to. Close quote. As I think is fairly clear from those quotes, Meursault lives without passion, commitment, or meaning. He drifts from moment to moment, making no real choices, simply reacting. His lack of identity is not just emotional, it's existential. He does not define himself or seek purpose. The pivotal event in the novel comes when Meursault kills an unnamed Arab man. The murder happens not out of hatred or intent, but seemingly by accident or impulse. On a beach under the blinding Algerian sun, Meursault shoots the man after a brief scuffle involving his friend Raymond. He later says, open quote, the trigger gave, close quote. He fires 4 more shots into the body. Open quote. It was like knocking 4 quick times on the door of unhappiness. Close quote. The act is absurd. There is no clear motive. The murder is not committed for any higher purpose or cause. It is a meaningless event, made even more disturbing by Meursault's emotional emptiness. And this marks the moment when Meursault's indifference collides with society's need for order, meaning, and moral accountability. In the second half of the novel, Meursault is arrested and put on trial. But the courtroom is less concerned with the murder than his behaviour at his mother's funeral. His moral character is on trial more than the crime itself. The prosecutor says, open quote, I accuse this man of burying his mother with crime in his heart. Close quote. The court, and by extension society, wants to impose an identity on Meursault, that of the immoral monster, the unfeeling brute, because he did not cry, because he went to the movies the next day, because he does not express remorse. He is deemed soulless. As Meursault watches this spectacle unfold, he begins to realise how others are defining him. Open quote. I had the odd impression of being watched by myself. Close quote. And this is a turning point. He sees himself as an object, someone interpreted judged, and misrepresented. For the first time, he begins to confront the idea that others have always expected him to play a role, and he never has. While awaiting execution in prison, Meursault is left alone with nothing but time and the inevitability of death. And this is where Camus' philosophy of the absurd becomes central. Camus defined the absurd as the confrontation between the human desire for meaning and the silent, indifferent universe. Meursault finally faces this reality. He comes to understand that death is certain and unavoidable, and that the universe offers no answers. Open quote. Since we're all going to die, it's obvious that when and how don't matter. Close quote. At first, this might seem like despair, but for Camus, this confrontation is liberating. In recognizing the absurd, Meursault is freed from illusions, whether they be religious, moral, or emotional. He begins to construct a new identity, one that affirms life despite its meaninglessness. I always have trouble saying that word. He refuses to turn to God or hope, even when offered a chaplain to comfort him. He embraces the truth, however harsh. Open quote. I had only a little time left, and I didn't want to waste it on God. Close quote. In the final pages of the novel, Meursault experiences something like peace. Having accepted the absurdity of existence, he now affirms life for what it is, fleeting, sensual, and without appeal. Open quote. I opened myself to the gentle indifference of the world. Close quote. This is a moment of spiritual clarity, not religious, and that's important, not religious, but existential. Meursault, once passive and undefined, now claims an identity, one rooted in honesty, awareness, and the refusal to lie. He walks toward death, not with fear, but with acceptance. Open quote. For everything to be consummated, for me to feel less alone, I had only to wish that there be a large crowd of spectators the day of my execution, and that they greet me with cries of hate. Close quote. These final words show Meursault's transformation. He now understands himself. He does not need approval or love. He no longer lives passively. He is fully present, fully aware, and, despite being imprisoned and facing death, fully free. So The Stranger is a story of a man who begins life as a hollow shell, emotionally numb, socially disconnected, and morally ambiguous. But when forced to confront death and the absurd, he forges an identity not based on conventional values, but on lucid self-awareness. Through Meursault, Camus dramatizes a central idea of existentialism. That identity is not something given, but something created, not through conformity or belief, but through rebellion, clarity, and the acceptance of the absurd. Meursault ends the novel not as a stranger to life, but as someone who has finally come to know himself.